Part 1: Introduction and the Birth of a Mystery. Opening an umbrella indoors seems like a completely harmless thing to do. But try it around someone who believes in superstitions, and you'll see their face change in an instant. For some, an open umbrella in the house means bad luck is on its way. For others, it's illness, financial trouble, or a serious fight. And in some old folklore, it was believed that a person who opened an umbrella over their head indoors could bring death upon themselves or someone else living in that house. The weirdest part is that most people have no idea where this rule came from. They just heard it from their parents. Their parents heard it from their parents. And just like that, a simple piece of domestic advice managed to survive for dozens of generations. But why the umbrella? Why did an object meant to protect people suddenly become a sign of bad news? There are a few possible answers. One goes back to ancient gods and the sacred power of sunlight. Another points to invisible spirits that supposedly guard the home. And the third requires no magic at all, because once upon a time, an umbrella opened indoors could actually cause serious harm. To understand where this superstition comes from, we need to forget everything we know about modern umbrellas. Today, an umbrella is cheap and ordinary. You can fold it up, toss it in your bag, and forget about it until the next rain. But the first umbrellas looked completely different. They weren't originally made to keep off rain. Their main job was to shield people from the sun. Images of early umbrellas and parasols show up in the art of ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, Persia, China, and other civilizations. But not just anyone could afford one. The umbrella was big, making it required wood, fabric, leaves, feathers, and skilled craftsmanship. Sometimes the owner didn't even hold it themselves, a servant did. So the umbrella quickly became more than just a source of shade. It turned into a symbol of power. In ancient artwork, the umbrella looms over rulers, nobles, and gods. It separates them from ordinary people and creates a special, protected space around them. A person standing under that canopy wasn't just showing off their wealth. They were showing that they had a high rank and a special right to protection. Opening an umbrella indoors seems like a completely harmless act. One move, a light click of the mechanism, the fabric spreading out, and a familiar dome appears above your head. But in many homes, that's enough for someone to immediately insist you close it. Not because the umbrella is dripping, not because it takes up too much room, but because an open umbrella indoors is said to bring bad luck. Some believe it will start arguments in the house. Others say it means sickness, money troubles, or an unexpected death. In some, especially dark versions, the danger falls specifically on the person whose head the umbrella was opened over. Most people don't take this superstition seriously anymore. And yet, even those who don't believe in omens often feel a little uneasy when they see an open umbrella sitting in the middle of a room. Like a rule has been broken, even if its meaning has long been forgotten. But who first came up with that rule? Why did a simple object, originally meant to protect people, suddenly become a sign of bad luck? Was it tied to an ancient religion, a fear of household spirits, or some very real danger we've simply forgotten about? To find the answer, we have to forget about today's lightweight umbrellas and go back to a time when this thing wasn't even meant for rain. The first umbrellas were actually sunshades. Similar canopies existed in ancient cultures across Egypt, Mesopotamia, Persia, India, and China. But not just anyone could use one. An umbrella wasn't just a household item. It was a symbol of power and high status. It was held over rulers, nobles, and statues of gods. The more important the person, the more luxurious their canopy. The shadow under that umbrella also meant something special. It set the ruler apart from everyone else, creating a space of protection and privilege around them. And that's where the most famous version of the superstition comes from. According to a popular legend, in ancient Egypt, opening an umbrella indoors was seen as an insult to the sun god. The umbrella was made to shield people from the sun's rays, but inside a house, the sun couldn't reach you anyway. So by opening it there, you were basically rejecting the sun's light, even when you didn't need any protection. That act supposedly enraged the sun god and brought disaster not just on the person who did it, but on their entire household. It sounds convincing. This story has everything you'd expect from an ancient curse: a sacred object, a forbidden act, and an angry deity ready to punish anyone who shows disrespect. That's why this version gets repeated the most. But there's one big problem with it. We do know that ancient Egypt had ceremonial umbrellas and sun canopies. They're shown in images over gods, pharaohs, and nobles. But there's almost no solid ancient evidence that opening one indoors was considered bad luck or an insult to any particular god. It's possible this story came much later, when people were trying to find an old, mysterious explanation for an already existing European superstition. But if the Egyptian legend doesn't really explain where the taboo came from, why did people still fear opening an umbrella inside a house? One idea was that the roof already provides protection for everyone beneath it. By opening another protective dome under that roof, you were basically showing distrust toward the forces guarding the home.
Another belief said that an open umbrella disturbed the invisible space of household spirits. It could push them out, annoy them, or even lure something foreign under its canopy. In some cultures, umbrellas later became linked not just with rain and sun, but with the spirit world. So an open umbrella indoors could be seen almost like an invitation for an unseen guest. But these explanations appeared in different countries and at different times. They don't form one ancient tradition. Instead, people kept attaching new meanings to an already familiar taboo, meanings that matched their own fears. To find a more convincing answer, we don't need gods or spirits. We just need to picture what would happen if you opened a real umbrella from the 18th or 19th century in a small room full of people, candles, glass, and fragile objects. Umbrellas back then were very different from the ones we use today. They were big, heavy, and awkward. Their frames were made of wood, whalebone, and later on, metal. The thick, oiled fabric didn't fold up well, and the long, stiff ribs took up a lot of space. Some mechanisms snapped open abruptly and took considerable effort. The moment you released the catch, the frame would spring open in all directions at once. Out on the street, that wasn't a big problem, but inside a cramped house, one careless click could end very differently. A spoke could hit someone in the face or injure an eye. An umbrella could knock over a candle, shatter a glass lamp, tip over dishes, or bump into nearby furniture. In a crowded room, it became a trap of wood, fabric, and sharp metal parts. Picture a small house with a low ceiling and a family gathered around a table. The room is lit by candles. Glassware sits on the shelves. Someone comes in from the street with a heavy wet umbrella and suddenly opens it right in the middle of the room. One spoke hits a person standing nearby. Another knocks over a burning candle. Water drips onto the floor, someone slips, and a piece of fabric catches fire or a lamp tips over, creating a fire hazard. In that situation, an opened umbrella really could bring misfortune into the house. But it didn't need a curse for that. It was the danger itself. The ban had a very practical meaning. Don't open an umbrella indoors because you could injure someone or damage property. But a simple warning doesn't always work, especially when you have to pass it down to children who aren't yet able to grasp the consequences. The phrase, "Don't open an umbrella because you might hit someone with a metal spoke," is too long and not always convincing. But saying, "Don't open it, or else something bad will happen," sticks in your mind instantly. Fear became a way to make people follow the rule. That's how it went with many household taboos. A dangerous action first got a reasonable explanation. Then the details faded away, but the warning itself kept being passed down from generation to generation. Parents repeated it to their kids. Those kids grew up and told the same thing to their own children. No one remembered who first set the rule, but you still didn't want to break it. Over time, umbrellas became lighter and safer. More flexible frames, improved mechanisms, and compact folding models appeared. The danger lessened, but the superstition didn't disappear. On the contrary, having lost its practical explanation, it became even more mysterious. If no one remembered why you shouldn't open an umbrella indoors, the gap had to be filled with something. So, new versions emerged. Some said the umbrella offends the sun god. Others claimed its canopy breaks the home's protection. Still others believed that evil spirits gather under an open umbrella. In some families, ordinary bad luck gradually turned into a prediction of illness or death. The scarier the explanation, the better it stuck. But one question remains. Why does the superstition still live on today, when an umbrella no longer resembles a heavy metal trap?
The answer isn't about how an umbrella works, but about how the human mind works. Imagine someone opens an umbrella indoors despite the warning. A few hours later, they break a cup, get an unpleasant message, or have a fight with a loved one. These events aren't connected at all, but the brain notices the sequence. First the rule was broken, then something bad happened. A coincidence turns into confirmation. When you open an umbrella and nothing happens, that day quickly fades from memory. There's no story worth retelling, but when something does go wrong, it becomes proof. I told you not to open that umbrella. That's how a single mishap reinforces a belief far more than dozens of times the superstition didn't pan out. Superstitions thrive especially well when following the rule is easier than testing whether it's actually true. It costs a person nothing to wait a few seconds and unfold their umbrella outside. They lose almost nothing, and they avoid even the slightest risk. And every time they choose not to break the rule, they help it survive another day. That's why superstitions persist, even among people who swear they don't believe in them. You can laugh at ancient curses and household spirits, but when someone cracks open an umbrella next to you, part of you still wants to step aside. And maybe that very feeling is what connects us to people who lived centuries ago. They stepped aside too. They just had a much better reason for it. The story of an angry sun god remains the most beautiful version of where this taboo came from. Ancient umbrellas really were tied to power, protection, and religious ceremonies, but we don't have solid proof that the Egyptians were afraid to open them indoors. The household spirit theory shows how different cultures could explain the same prohibition using their own beliefs. And the danger of early European umbrellas offers the simplest, most convincing explanation. We can't pin the exact birth of this superstition on a single person, a single house, or a single day in history. Most likely, it's a blend of practical warnings, cultural ideas about protection, and the human love for a scary story. But at the heart of it all could be an ordinary object that was once much more dangerous than it seems today. Now picture the same scene we started with, a dark room. A person raises an umbrella. Their hand presses the mechanism. A sharp click, and the canopy opens above their head. No spirits appear. The sun god doesn't send a curse, but one of the spokes knocks a glass jar off the table. It hits the floor and shatters. Maybe an umbrella opened indoors never summoned misfortune. Maybe it was the misfortune. Did anyone ever tell you not to open an umbrella inside when you were a kid? And what did they say would happen if you broke that rule?